Guys, look at this beautiful guitar. Now you might have seen this in the background of many of my videos. I've had this guitar for a while and I'm just now getting around to doing a video on it. This is a gorgeous Ibanez S470DXQM. Just rolls off the tongue. Now this guitar is not a new guitar by any means. In fact, this particular one was made in 2008. But here's the thing, despite this guitar here being more than a decade old and the model being several decades old, this guitar still has some really amazing features and it absolutely shreds, and you can pick these up easily on the used market for really good prices. So let's go ahead and check this out. Alright guys, now just look at this thing. I mean, it's got a beautiful quilt top, it's got a matching headstock. Now, what's really cool here is the S-series Ibanez guitars actually go back to the 80s, where they used to be called the Sabre series. And later on in the 90s, they just shortened it to the S-series. And although the model did start in the 80s, I feel like it's really more associated as being kind of a 90s shred guitar. It's kind of like how my Saab 9.3 turbo convertible, even though the car is from 2002, it's really more of a 90s car. Now these are awesome shred guitars. They've got a lot of really cool features that just make them very, very easy to play, and especially for faster runs and so forth. And there are a lot of great shred guitar players that play these guitars, like Herman Lee in particular. He of course has his E-Gen signature guitar from Ibanez. And this one here with this really bright finish, it's just sort of like a more flamboyant Herman Lee guitar. Okay, but let's go ahead and talk about the specs, because this really does have some really cool features on it. So first of all, let's talk about the body here. Now, the body is mahogany and we've got a quilt maple top, but just look at the side profile of this guitar. The body is very, very thin, and in particular, it tapers down to the edge. So the edge of the body is really, really thin, and then it sort of fattens up as it gets into the center of the body where the pickups are mounted. This makes it really, really comfortable, like when you're laying your arm over the top of the body. It kind of has a natural sort of curve to it, so your arm sits there really comfortably. And also the guitar, because it's so thin, it feels like the guitar sits really close to you, which is nice. Also, on the topic of comfort, the neck is amazing. This is the Ibanez Wizard 2 neck, and it's a 3-piece maple neck. Now the fretboard is of course rosewood. It's got 22 frets on this model. Later on they came with 24 frets, but this is one of the older 22 fret versions. These are nice, big, chonky, jumbo frets. Very, very shred friendly. You know, Ibanez, Jackson, ESP, all those great shred guitars, they have these really big frets, and this guitar is no exception. Now for the controls, we've got a 5-way selector switch here, and then a single volume and a single tone. Of course, it's a humbucker single humbucker arrangement, and these are the old trustworthy Ibanez Infinity pickups. Now, let's talk about the bridge, because that is really the most unique part of this guitar here. This is one of the awesome, very unique Ibanez ZR ball bearing bridges. So the deal here is, instead of a bridge like a Floyd Rose, you know, any kind of licensed Floyd Rose, or even like a Wilkinson bridge that has a knife edge, right, that sort of moves up and down against posts, This instead has like a hinge joint, and it has two super smooth ball bearing joints on either side of the bridge. So this bridge is incredibly smooth and just very, very sensitive. You can get these really nice sort of nuanced, very subtle motions out of the bridge, and then it always goes right back into tune. Now the other thing is on the back of the body. Check this out here. As you can see, the back of the bridge is just as complicated as the front of the bridge, and what's cool is there's a wheel right here which you can turn, and that will actually adjust the spring tension for you just by turning that wheel. So like on a classic Floyd Rose or something, you got to go in with the screwdriver and like turn the screws, like screw them more into the wood or out. It's pretty primitive in a lot of ways, but this thing is just like, leading edge tech right here, at least in the 2000s it was. And I don't want to rag on these bridges. I mean, they work really well, and in particular for like flutters, they work great for that. And I'm really kind of surprised that Ibanez didn't continue using this bridge, especially on this guitar, because in about 2009, I believe, 2010, right around there, they switched to like an old school like knife edge style bridge, like the Edge 3 or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I love a Floyd Rose bridge. It's probably my favorite bridge overall. But even like a really nice OFR, like an original Floyd Rose or something, over time those knife edges will wear out, right? This bridge here, if you oil this and everything, if you maintain this properly, it will last forever. The other cool thing about these guitars is the way they've done the output jack. It's recessed into the body, which keeps it out of the way of the trim arm and out of the way of your hand. Okay, so the guitar is really cool. It's got a bunch of really cool features and everything, cool bridge, but maybe the best thing of all is how affordable these guitars are. And that's really because there are so many of these guitars on the used market. They go for around $500, depending on the specifics of the model and of course on the condition. Now the models of the 470 series, they do vary a little bit. Some of them, the later ones, have different inlays. Some have 22 frets, some have 24 frets. Some of them have different bridges and so forth. But this particular one right here, I think, is one of the best. Anyway, let's go ahead and plug it in and see if it shreds. Who am I kidding? Of course this guitar is going to shred here. But now, real quick guys, if you enjoy videos like this, checking out cool, affordable guitars, and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. All right, let's plug it in and listen to how it sounds. Yeah, so guys, honestly, I mean, I've had this for a while, and I play it often. It's really hard to find anything wrong with this guitar. I mean, it's got a nice variety of tones with the 5-way switch, and then your tone control, of course. And the guitar plays so nice. It's just a very effortless guitar to play. Very comfortable, the body and the neck. The Wizard 2 neck, I mean, it's not the absolute thinnest Ibanez neck, like the original Wizard is going to be thinner, but it's still a very, very flat, thin, nice D-shaped neck on this guitar. Great frets, great build quality overall. This guitar is made in Korea. Some of the later ones, I think they switched to Indonesia, but this sort of era was made in Korea. Yeah, and the bridge, I mean, the ZR bridge is just kind of ridiculous. I mean, it has a different feel than a Floyd Rose. It's more, it feels a little more spongy, and you would think that means, oh, the bridge is like looser and maybe it's not going to hold the tuning as well, but that's not true at all. I mean, this thing stays dead in tune. And of course, it looks great too. I love this finish on here. The guitar also came in several other finishes, a nice blue and natural and everything. So again, if you're looking on the used market for one of these guitars, I mean, there's a lot of different variations on this guitar to choose from. Now, there's one thing to watch out for with these guitars, and that is really because these are sort of like shredder guitars, they tend to get played a lot. And so it's very common to find one of these guitars that has a lot of fret wear on it. This one here is actually really good, but I've seen a lot of these guitars, you go to a store or something, you look at the used section, you find one of these 470s, and the frets will have like deep, deep grooves in them, or the crowning on the fret is just totally worn down because they've been played so much. So guys, any Ibanez S-Series fans out there, please tell me what you think of these guitars, and also, what do you think of the ZR floating bridges? I really like them, and I'm a bit bummed that they kind of, they're hard to get these days. Most of the newer guitars come with the standard knife edge bridges. All right, guys, as always, I'm going to have links for everything I was talking about in the video down in the video description below. The amplifier that I used for the demo is my trusty Fender GTX 100. I'll have a link for that down there, as well as the guitar. If I can find some nice used examples or something, I'll put links for that stuff down there as well. Now, I will also have links for my new merch. I've got some new t-shirts out, my instructional materials, and my social media. Alright guys, thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.